everybody. Welcome to the Sustainiacs. I am Michael Vincent, and I found a Sustainiac. His name is Shane Price. I think I was just stalking people on the internet. I ran across you, I think, or maybe somebody introduced. I can't remember. But Green Circle Salons. I was like, all right, this guy's got sustainable hair salons all over the country of Canada and North America. But I don't think that's actually true. But he's CEO of Green Circle Salons, so we're going to dig into it, man. Shane, thanks for coming on, brother. How are you doing?
Terrific, Michael. Great to be here. And you nailed it. That's what we do. Yeah. Sustainability and beauty. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So your background is probably what, like, half the country, U.S. thinks that the typical walls in Canada look like. It's just wood like that. But I love it.
This is it. This is what every single home in Canada looks like. Yeah, basically that's it. Correct.
You got a stack of like Molson's beer cases in the corner and a couple hockey.
Sure. I got my toque right over there. Yeah, exactly. My toboggan's over there. And,
a couple hockey sticks
out there. That's it.
A couple hockey sticks, that type of thing. Right.
That's it. No, this is barnwood, local barnwood.
I love it. I love it, man. I love it. So, real quick, what is Green Circle Salons? Tell people what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So, thanks, Michael. So we work with the hair and beauty industry and the salon professionals to creatively solve against the big challenge of beauty waste in the hair industry. And so 2016, I went into a salon. I saw 2009, 16 years ago, I walked into a salon and I saw what looked to be like a problem, which was all the waste that was going into garbage bags here in the city of Toronto. And so at that moment, sort of a light bulb went off and thought, could we figure out better solutions than landfilling all of this material that seemingly could go back into our economies, back into circulation? And so with that idea, a company was born, and we've built an organization based on supporting the incredible beauty industry and all the heroes in it in making it more sustainable.
So, and that's awesome. I love it. We'll dig into all that kind of.
Sure.
But what you just were walking into a salon and said, hey, you know what? We need to make this more sustainable. I mean, were you in the salon business? Were you already thinking green?
So, great question.
Yeah. Or it just all this came together, one epiphany, and you went, oh.
It was like that. It was kind of like this moment of right place, right time, not sure the right guy, but certainly I was in this moment of like,
Are you sure you're the right guy now? Because I've been at what I'm doing for a long time. I'm still not sure.
I'm not sure.
Gotcha.
But you know what? Here's the thing. Passion will take you a long way.
It will.
In life. And so there's a ton of that in this company. And we tend to attract those that are like-minded. As you found us, my sense speaking with you is you're very much that kind of guy. You know what? I had built my first startup living in Japan. I was there for about 8 years.
Okay.
And it was about connecting people to nature. That was the premise of the company. I don't want to talk so much about that, but more about
But
I was then back in Canada and in Toronto, and my barber was closed. So I went into a hair salon that was right beside the barber. I'd never been into a hair salon in my life. I sat down and I was just curious more than anything about why are we putting things like hair clippings or aluminum foil or even paper and plastic in a garbage bag? And then it was kind of, as you say, a bit of an epiphany, like, well, if we're not solving this problem here in Toronto, then this must be a more systemic issue. And then I kind of spent the next 3 months or so thinking about this and looking into who was solving it, what was going on, what was the city doing with the material, what material streams were there. And then it was like, okay, we have something here. I need to speak to people in this industry to figure this out.
Yeah. Well, in which industry?
Beauty. Yeah, absolutely. All of it.
All of it, right? I mean, it's in industry. I mean, not even just take that out, just industry.
Absolutely.
Because that's what I'm, running across too. So what you found out is it was very systemic. It's like, I had someone who I respect very, very highly
Mm,
post something that showed all of the 1 through 7, with the triangle of arrows around,
sure,
and
Chase.
it said this is not a recycling chart, and my nature and everybody who knows me would know that I reacted by going, the hell it isn't. It absolutely is a recycling chart because all of that can be recycled. It may not be recycled by your community, but that's not the manufacturer's fault necessarily. It's the system's fault and how things are set up,
Exactly.
right? Is that
Right.
what you discovered too? Because that's where my mind went, and that's
Absolutely.
how I'm attacking. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there are so many layers to this. When you think about residential recycling versus commercial, versus what's available in your community versus these, what's recyclable, what's acceptable is changing all the time. And then you layer in, the challenges that the waste management sort of industry faces from
Mm.
a integrity standpoint, because we all have heard the stories in the news. And then you have this sort of massive challenge of solving for all of those things at one time. And I think any company, any organization, any level of government that's going to be successful has to simplify it down to the very basics and make it consistently available and communicated to its audiences. And so I think that's where we kind of got our foothold. Was
Mm.
we sort of went niche and we spoke to the beauty industry and
Mm.
professionals. And I'm talking about anywhere from the manufacturers of the products to the salons who are using the product, to the customers who patron the salon as guests to get their hair cut and colored and all that stuff. Is how do we create a platform that is powerful and simple, easy to communicate, where everyone can win? Because and I know this about you, if in your stakeholder or value chain, if one of those stakeholders isn't winning, it will not be sustainable. And by that,
That's
it
right.
won't continue to be able to perpetuate into the future. And so we took very careful um, consideration around how do we do this in a way that everyone's involved and everyone wins. It's just part of our DNA.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, but you're not just supporting, or are you just? And I don't want to mean
no, no,
just,
no, I
but
know.
salons. So it's also like retail outlets for those supplies as well that go to the general public,
Yeah, yeah.
or are you strictly within that salon and the waste that happens
Yeah, no,
there?
yeah, and we're growing up. We're growing up, and it's all real time and live, and
Right.
we're maturing
Right.
as a company. We do service the retail centers that sell the product. That is
Yeah,
correct.
because I would imagine one of those. I mean, one of those stakeholders are those that make those products,
That's correct.
and it's probably a. I mean, it probably. I don't know where their breakdown is, whether it's B2C or B2B sales where they make the most of their money. But I would imagine that their advertising dollars are B2C, and that's in the retail, right?
One
That's
thousand.
where they're going to get the exposure for this effort, right, and
That's
get the
correct.
value out of that.
That's correct. Yeah. So on the brand side, absolutely, we do service from the retail component and the component that sort of side. On the
Yeah.
professional side, there is interest, and we salons that are selling these different brands and their products will also do customer take back programs where we can collect that material as well. But the vast majority of the business we do is with the salon community itself and beauty
No kidding.
professionals to take their waste at the at the B2C level that's in their business. So
Yes.
there's
Yes. 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 Yes.
washing
Yes.
hair,
Well,
shampooing.
that's where the immediate impact on operations, efficiencies, and cost of waste happen, right?
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you attack it with them in that manner? And you implied that you do because that's how I do it. It's an economic. This is this is business 101. This is going to improve your efficiency, your bottom line, your top line, et cetera, and less so from the altruistic nature of it.
Yeah, great question. I would say it's a balance,
Yeah.
because the challenge that you face inside of the beauty industry is the waste itself. Let's call it We call it waste. We really the resources, because these are great materials that can go back. That
Previously extracted resources.
exactly. Well, I mean, it's a it's a nomenclature issue. We've named it waste, therefore we think get rid of it as quickly as we can. As humans, we
Right.
don't want waste. If the resources, if we could just retrain our brains, right? So
Exactly.
anyway, but ultimately, our program is designed to help salons to be green, to build revenue, to gain new customers, and to save money. Be Green is all the waste diversion that we do. 95% of the material that salons create on site, we can take, and we either work with recyclers or we recycle the material.
Oh, fantastic.
Building revenue, the salon is able to generate a revenue stream in the program, and that allows the funding of this program, but also additional revenue for them to invest in. Could be LED lighting, hot water on demand, low flow, you name it. But
So,
that,
and those are great. Go ahead, please.
right,
You're
and those
just
are
hitting my
things
brain, and
that-
I have to ask
yeah,
questions.
no, I love that. I love it. The brain's on fire, and it's your total entrepreneur. Like, so it just helps bridge that gap that sometimes you have to invest in these technologies before you see a return. This helps to make that possible. And then finally, we have a directory for salons so that people who are looking in their neighborhood for a new salon or what have you can easily find a business or a salon that's aligned to their values. That's
I
kind of
got like a Green Circle certified.
that's it. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the certification route. It's a fabulous way to go. It's a great tactic. So, do you guys, are you more, because you mentioned a whole bunch of different things? Are you more a consultant that happens to do this? This is like your spearhead, and then you'll consult with them on all the other green initiatives, like low flow and the LED lighting, et cetera? Or are you strictly in this and you just kind of mention those because those are ideas?
Yeah. No. So we do consult on that other.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you're
we have
full, like if you're salon, we're going to help you with the whole sustainability deal.
it's a one-stop shop. We can sort of
Got it.
we manage the waste. We support you with the green funding mechanism. We provide a channel for green-minded consumers to find you and spend their money at your business, and then connect you with those companies, to your point, yes, that are offering sustainable technologies. Yeah.
Awesome. So let me ask you this question, and it's kind of a humorous question, and I was going to ask it as a joke, but now it's actually, now that I think about it, it's not a joke. It's actually a fairly serious question. Is there a leaning towards patrons of beauty salons, which, to will they go to a salon that is green over one that is not perceived to be green more often? Because you hear studies where,
Sure.
67% of the people say they'll spend 10% more for a product that is green, that is sustainability or sustainably packaged or sourced. But then when they actually go do it, they don't. So what I was going to ask is, will somebody go to a store that will make them 10% less beautiful because it's sustainable? In other words, is that sustainability marker a true magnet? Does it actually help with that? I would imagine it does, but have you done those studies yet or no?
Yeah. So, and you're 100% right. There are 1,000 studies out there that will tell you that consumers will act a certain way.
Yeah.
And faced with making decisions between buying green or sustainable versus not.
Yeah.
In reality, when it comes to the transaction, we know that is different.
It's value driven only. Yeah.
It is. Now, will my mom or will my 3 sisters ever leave the stylist they go to because there's a salon down the road that says we do it this way? 1,000% not going to happen.
Not a chance.
That, right? It's not a chance, not going to happen.
Yeah.
But what does happen is when the customer knows that the salon is doing this thing, it adds more meaning and value in the relationship. And we hear that time and time again. To me, that's where the gold is.
So it's a brand loyalty thing. It's a community building.
Tension and brand loyalty. And listen, whenever you're doing something great in your community, I know it's like this. I know it's like this in the US and it's like this in Canada. When you do great things in your community, great things happen. And you become part of a different conversation, I think, when you are just taking ownership and responsibility for the environmental impact that your business has. When you can step 100%. Up confidently and say that, it opens other doors and channels. And I think this is what we hear. salons will run campaigns in their communities and say, they'll advertise or promote that they are doing their business sustainably. They get on
Mm-hmm.
local news, these types of things happen. And then we hear they got an inrush of new guests that came through the door looking for this type of salon. And so in
Sure.
that way, we do hear it.
Yeah. And then a certain percent will stick, right?
And then a certain percent will stick. Yeah, we can get them to the door. Whether or not they stay at your salon
Yeah, that's your
their
deal.
business,
Yeah,
right?
you're not cutting the hair. You're
Exactly.
not doing
But
the
that's a
tile
great
work.
question, and
Yeah.
one that we got to all keep working on, because that's the sticking point.
So are you providing them with the consulting and the the physical and ideology, the solutions to this, right? And are you adding a tech stack to that? Are you giving them the data back to them so they can utilize that in an auditable form and that type of stuff? Or how are you engaging with them? Are you just, look here, separate your stuff this way and we can handle it that way?
Sure. Yeah. So whenever a salon joins a program, we have an orientation.
Yeah.
We walk them through sort of the different aspects of the business. So here's the Be Green. Here's how you're going to separate your waste. Here are the bins. It's easy peasy. Really, you have to separate, and why our program is successful, you have to separate at the source: hair, metals, paper, plastic, chemicals, aerosol cans, you name it. So you have to separate at the source. We receive it that way, then we can manage it in the most affordable way, because otherwise, if we have to separate all this stuff out,
I'm totally with you, man. The closer you can get to the hand throwing it away and keeping it separated, the much more efficient and cost effective it is. Single stream recycling is the old way, and it's baloney. It doesn't work.
That's it. And so the other side of that, as it relates to the other different technology you can introduce in your business. So again, we bring the salon to the door of the brands, the green brands that we know make really great products. And at that point, they need to interface with those companies to decide whether that product is the right fit for their salon business. Here's what I'll tell you I've learned in the industry, and this is just a takeaway for anyone going into any industry: keeping it very simple, especially for if you're selling into an industry of owner operators who are often very busy running their business behind the chair, cutting the hair, making sure that X, Y, and Z is taken care of. They don't have a whole lot of time. Just give me the simple, how's this going to work, so I can roll this out of my business, and it sort of automates itself. So again, we've designed it that way, and we try not to get too much in the way of the business and the sustainable products and technologies and tech stacks, as you say. Those companies will certainly communicate that material in a more effective way than we can.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, there's just the statements you just made. There's 15 different ways to go, but I mean, it is essential for if anybody's looking at this and say, well, this industry could use this type of stuff. What I take away from that is one of the most important things is don't disrupt the business. They're not in the business of recycling. They're in the business of beauty salons.
Bingo.
Okay.
Bingo.
And if you detract from that in too much of a manner, disrupt that, it ain't going to happen.
And to that point, they make people look beautiful, which leads to them feeling beautiful. All we do is help with the narrative around feeling beautiful. Right? You look beautiful, but...
And I saved a tree today.
Yeah. The flip side is, and I think Ray Anderson coined this. I don't remember who coined it, but it's sort of that phrase of, what is the business case for doing business on a dead planet? Well, what is the salon and beauty case for making people look beautiful at the expense of the planet? It doesn't jive. It doesn't jive in a lot of people's minds. And so to the green circlers of the world, it is a fairly easy narrative when we're having a conversation with an owner. They get it because they care. We know that. They're the heroes of our story and they care. We just, our big challenge is getting out to such a large industry and that's fragmented, right? You have
massively fragmented and so many different levels to it, right? I mean, you go from the really expensive down to the high throughput and even, and I won't name names, great clips, but
I mean,
which is
even
huge volume. And even there,
Yeah.
100%. So so I was at a conference, right? And I'm going to set up this question. I was at a conference, and there is the senior vice president of sustainability globally for this consumer brand.
Okay.
Okay, on stage talking about recycling. It was a plastics conference, and it has a recycling section to it, which they all do now, which they should, and probably have for many, many years. But, anyways, so he's on stage talking about it, and one of the things he says is, "Look, we know that if we change our packaging in the industry, everybody packages their stuff the same way, recycling would be 1,000 times easier, but we're not going to do it because that's our marketing." Really an upsetting kind of narrative, but I get it. But have you found a way to have that type of just, I want to say monochrome packaging? Because if you're going business to business, a business isn't spending 2 seconds in an aisle at Ulta and going, "Oh, that one catches my fancy. I'm going to buy that," which we all know the psychology of marketing to people on the shelf. It's not the same dynamic in that situation. And therefore, I would think the manufacturers would be more apt to listen to you and that effort and say, "Look, just a clear PET bottle or just a plain old natural HDPE bottle is fine because there isn't anybody in this, they've already bought your product, right? You can have your product on the shelf to sell to the people, but the volume that's going through that store doesn't need to be in this fancy stuff. It could be in these types of plastics that are super easy to and highly valuable on the secondary market." Is that a goal? Do you find that, or are you fighting against that, or have I just given you a new idea?
No, I mean it's all of the
All the
above.
above. Yeah,
All of the above. So, yes, we have conversations with brands often.
yeah,
And, I could sit down and talk to the CSO of a multinational corporation, some of the largest in the world. And what I find fascinating is in a one on one like this,
yeah.
I know how much they care.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like me and you. There's no difference. I mean, I think we
Sure.
sometimes, I've been guilty of it, like lumping them into this category of, they don't care. The people who run the business, actually, they really do care. It's a complex, let's call it shareholder first mentality sometimes.
No, you're right. It's shareholder primacy or
That's it.
stakeholder primacy.
That's
Absolutely.
it. And it leads to short term thinking and all of that, which we know happens. Now, on the
Yeah, well, I mean,
packaging,
that's why they're in business, right? And that's our financial system. That's not their fault. It's the society or the financial ecosystem or
That's it.
environment that we've
That's
developed
it.
as a society.
That's the system, Michael, right there. That probably at the heart of all of this. If that changed, then everything else can. But with the current model, and it can drive great results for the planet. It can also create a ton of, and it has challenges environmentally. We know that it goes without saying. But I think from the tactical execution and thinking about like how do we either replace, reduce, change packaging, monochrome or not, or how do we do it in a way that's going to result in higher, that thinking is absolutely happening.
Yeah, absolutely is. Yeah.
And the drivers, let's face it, many of them are regulatory compliance, fines, taxes, levies related, but those drive results. And so there's a lot of thinking about it beyond the own personal CEOs or CSOs that care, because they do, just like you and I. But yeah,
Well,
no,
and from our standpoint, though, right? You're solving a situation for people who are eventually, and so am I, who are looking at eventually they're going to have to come to a conclusion. They're going to have to find a system eventually. A lot of them aren't motivated yet from what you mentioned,
correct.
taxation, mandates, legislation, trade, tariffs, whatever it happens to be, right? They're not motivated that way. However, at the same time, what I love about your model and my own is is that we're taking the tack that if you make it a business 101, like this makes much more sense than the way I was doing it. It helps my top line, it helps my bottom line, customer loyalty, all these different things. That's the best way to attack things, right? I mean, because because even if there's regulations, you're just putting a burden on the industry to move forward and a burden on the customers, et cetera, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is the big giant leap for humankind that we have to make, is the belief that if we develop products, services that are good for the planet, they will inherently be good for business. When I say for the planet, I mean for humanity, for wildlife, for lakes and our air, and for the soil and everything else. When we start building businesses like this, then there's such an opportunity. And there are 1,000 case studies out there that are showing that absolutely that is possible. In fact, that is the evolution of business.
It absolutely is. But I would add the importance of linking what you just said to society, because I mean, it's not just the people who are consumed with nature, et cetera, or the tree hugger from the 1970s or 80s. It's everybody. It's your health. It's your livelihood. It's the raw materials that you use for your business. It's all of those things. It's the exploitation. It's the haves and have-nots that can be solved with this type of thinking. And if they understand it more towards, responsible or conscious capitalism, let's call it that type of stuff, right?
Just on this point, and it's something that I think about often, and it kind of comes from Paul Hawkins in The Ecology of Commerce, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Fantastic.
For me, it was one of those books I read, and I thought this is how we should be thinking about it. But there's a gap between how the earth lives and how we carry out our commercial lives, and that gap. If we each sat down and had a conversation with ourselves and said, is that an acceptable gap to exploit and potentially and really potentially harm? I'm talking about ourselves. I'm talking about wildlife.
But you're right though when you pause and say I'm talking about ourselves, because here's the fact: the environment's going to be along
Absolutely.
further after we ruin its ability to sustain our life. That's what we're talking about.
I believe that to be true. And I mean, it's it's precipitously just heading in that direction. And it's great. It's 1999. It's a party. We've got everything at our fingertips in the society that we live today. But that kind of untapped, unchecked extraction can't last forever. And it is about that. It's about each person sort of saying, well, what is it that I think I can do in my own world to make a difference, even just for myself and my family, to be responsible and accountable for my own little impact. That's it. If we all did that, it could change a lot.
Right. So do you get into the product inside the packaging, or are you purely focusing on the packaging right now? Because they're just a pack. Yeah. I mean, you can't solve everything. It's just a question.
Yeah, no.
Well, maybe you can, but it's really hard to solve everything. I've tried. It's really, it poses a lot of stress on you and stuff like that. But
I think it's there's such a vast amount of change that can happen in all of those different components of a product, right? The ingredients, the sourcing, everything else, but we tend to focus mostly on the packaging because this is where we think we can make the biggest dent right now. But I know there are organizations that do.
Absolutely. Do you see reusable packaging and that type of stuff as being a total solution, or just part of a solution? Because they work, right? I mean, there's some really nice businesses out there that are do it, and you see it in hotels and stuff like that with soaps and shampoos and stuff like that. And I would imagine a B2B could pick up some sort of model like that, but I don't. Where do you see? Obviously, you've looked into that to see, okay, how far can we grow and take this business, as opposed to other solutions? Do they, can I help them along, or do they threaten what we're trying to do? And it's a different type of threat, right? I mean, you don't want to squash a solution, but how do you fit in and assist it together?
Yeah. What I love about this question is that I always think about innovation as it's like, in this very moment that we're having this conversation, somebody is innovating already to improve the product or the service.
Oh yeah, at this moment there for sure.
So I love that. And I know that, let's call it the next few years, there will be disruptive technologies that will come online it'll sort of change the way we even think about maybe reuse.
Right.
The big challenge is, as you hear in reuse, is that consumers just don't gravitate towards that system and the products. People in their minds have this sort of mindset that it has to be new, the packaging should never have been used, we should be using virgin plastics, all these things that are wholly inaccurate. But the adoption of that type of platform is probably slower than one would think. The old milk bottle system, where bottles are dropped off and then they're picked up and reused and washed and cleaned and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Seems to be a lot of challenges brands face for adoption. Reuse, absolutely better than recycling. If we could be reusing everything X number of times so that the carbon footprint story is better than recycling, yes, we should be doing that. We should pivot to that as quickly as we can. I think brands struggle with it. And I think there's technologies that will come online that will help us. Better packaging that, so that's
and different thinking throughout the distribution system too, right? Because distance has has an issue with
distance.
That, right?
Yes, absolutely. The material that it's packaged in, how often or how many times it could be used in the marketplace.
Yeah, safely within it, and we're making advances in polymer sciences as well to be able to use more and more post-consumer or even post-industrial content.
Absolutely.
Because part of the problem that people don't understand is you could make a bottle out of 100% post-consumer content, but is it going to function in the way that you need it to? Right? I mean, I found out really quickly that actual plastics out of the ocean, they're really just garbage. You can't use them for much at all.
That's why it's maybe like 2 or 3% of ocean plastic in a bottle.
Exactly. It just doesn't, I mean, if you want your product that's made out of plastics to actually function, sometimes it can't be 100% recycled plastics, but there are ways.
When you think about it too, I mean, think about harvesting plastic from the ocean, recycling that and putting it in your product. The cost of shipping and astronomical.
It is astronomical.
There's enough plastic. I mean, not that we shouldn't be taking ocean plastic out of the ocean. We should.
Well, we should be doing that, but I'm with you. And the company I run is Ocean Plastic Technologies, or OPT, and the ocean stays there because we're turning off the valve into the ocean.
Yes,
of the plastic.
that's what we have to do,
and that's what we need to do.
Yes.
You can't just keep extracting it from the ocean because we're just going to make more and more plastics. That's going to turn that valve get bigger and bigger and bigger. We got to stop the valve.
Yes,
that's where we got to stop. Let me ask you this: do you?
I have a question for you, just quick as you think.
Yeah, lay it on me, brother.
Have you been to the Plastic Ocean exhibit thing in Chicago?
No, I've not.
Okay, you
must
awesome? See this. I just went last year. I was in Chicago for work, and I went to this exhibit.
Yeah,
it was mind blowing, and it was just as you said. We have to turn that tap off because when you see that tap and how much plastic's entering the ocean every minute.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's insane, and it is overwhelming actually. And so, the microplastics issue and everything else, it really does a deep dive into that.
What people don't understand is there's actual trucks that are just dumping into the water too.
That's what it is. Yeah, and from places you might not imagine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Heck yeah. I posted a video of a truck driving along the side of the Amazon and just dumps all its garbage right in the Amazon. I mean, that's what some societies do. I mean, it's just, it's crazy because we've got issues for sure. Yeah. In your business, because what I'm doing here is, I get people to go, okay, you can process the plastics, etc. Is there a demand for it? And my answer is, there is not enough plastic for me. I do not have the capacity to process enough plastics to run out of demand for the recycled plastics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find that to be true in yours as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
if you can get your hands on it and process it, there are 10 people lined up going, me, I'll take it.
Absolutely. Yes, that's the case. We see that in plastic. We see that in the paper. We see that in various materials that we take away. The big challenge is we have to separate the materials. And so while the demand is there, and therefore there's a revenue stream. The cost to manage that stream is, in my view, one of the big challenges that we face
It
inside.
is the biggest challenge. I
Biggest
mean,
challenge, yeah.
yeah, for sure. You just got to get to the right efficiency to get to the right cost point in order
Correct.
to fulfill that
Correct.
demand. Yeah. I mean, I guess legislation and taxation, that's why that's there, right? Is to make that type of stuff happen. It's a lot like giving tax incentives to people to buy EVs, and hopefully it catches on, and then the market goes, and then those eventually go away. Which
And
I
we're
get
beginning
that.
to see that. Yeah.
That can work. One thing that I argued with somebody who was, I didn't argue, but I put forth the proposition with is a marketer. She did a lot of marketing for all kinds of different things, but we were talking about cosmetics for a lot of the show. And, it was, is there, or do you see a way to have industry-led legislation? In other words, the cosmetic industry, let's say, or the salon industry comes and says, just like we were talking about. Okay, if you're going to sell retail, here's the three different types of plastics that you can use, and here are the parameters for marketing on that packaging that you can develop anything you want, your own styles. But now it's not limitless, right? Right, and you can only combine so many different types of plastics, et cetera, because that's where it gets impossible to recycle, is separating all this stuff, right? And when it's in a single package, some of those packages you just can't recycle because there's so many different types of plastics or materials inside that, and it's only there for marketing and to catch somebody's eye.
Correct. Yeah. So form over functionality, or functionality over form, is a sort of issue there. I think that, I think that the associations in Canada and the US, the brands that are part of those associations, I mean, now you see with rising EPR legislation in the US and in Canada, the brands they must be responsive.
They got to be thinking about this,
They
right?
got to be thinking about it. California is making some big changes, and this is a large economy, and so brands.
Well, Europe does it, then California does it, then the East Coast does it, and then 30 years later, Iowa does it.
A lot of these, exactly. And a lot of these brands are selling into Europe as well, so they're already becoming compliant. In terms of the brands or the associations driving and sort of the changes to the industry, absolutely needed. I think there's a lot of work that has to be done in the United States and in Canada in that particular area. I don't think that there is a body that's necessarily neutral body driving it. I think that the the brands, and when I say this, I'm talking specifically around the professional beauty space.
Gotcha.
The brands are driving that conversation, and they're doing a great job. And they're big enough, they're pervasive enough, they can actually create this change. But you do see it at that level, more so there than the associations.
Do you see a difference in North America? Do you see a difference even from the brands or from the individuals? You probably deal a lot with single site entrepreneurs.
Correct. Yeah.
So do you see a difference in the acceptance and or attitudes between like provinces in Canada? I mean, is Alberta different than Ontario, different than Quebec, different than, and do you see the difference between those and, say, like the United States? Because there's different attitudes for sure between California and Texas.
Yeah.
Unless you've been asleep for your entire life, right?
Yeah, it's a fascinating one for me because if you look at the reports, you look at the demographics, and you'd say, okay, so you want to target these specific markets for a program around sustainability. What we've seen in reality is broad acceptance around these types of programs in almost every type of demographic. And so, yes, there are, the stereotypes do hold true to a degree, but I find when you get into, and again, because of your point, we're dealing with typically, single operators who might employ, anywhere from 2 to 10 to 15 staff.
Yeah.
You're having a conversation with that individual. I find that when you talk about something like clean air, water, and soil, they get it. I want that. I want that for my community. I want that for my kids.
Right.
I want that for, and we work in an industry that is dominated, dare I say this, but it's dominated by women. And women seem to be the problem solvers in many cases where men tend to sometimes create the problem. And I think that's still true today.
I'm going to edit that part out. Just
Edit that part out.
I'm just
You can
kidding.
edit that part out. But I mean, I
No.
think if you want to, you can. But I mean, I think the reality is we see in an industry, this industry anyway, beauty, dominated
Yeah.
by women, they care. And they think about these types of things. And so,
Yeah. No, I think by nature they just do, right? I mean, I think it's a good compliment because you're 100% right. It's the male side is to just drive, just go,
just go.
conquer.
Yeah. I find that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let God sort them out.
Yeah, exactly. It'll get sorted. But thank God.
Yes, exactly. That is awesome. So, you say you process some of these plastics, or you find other people to do it,
Correct.
right? So, you want to talk about that a bit? I mean, how do you guys source it, or not source it, but how are you guys? Are you
Yeah, I mean,
are you separating and actually processing down all the way
very
down
rudimentary. We're very
Yeah.
rudimentary. So we're separating. For
Yeah.
the salon separated source, we have to further separate our facility. And then from there, we grind it or pelletize it or bale it and then ship it direct to a processor who will take it and process
Gotcha.
it.
So it depends on what your offtake agreement requires you to process it,
That's correct.
right? So
That's
you don't,
right.
because you can't over process, and then they
No.
don't want it, right?
No, exactly. And the
Yeah.
brands want these plastics back. And so sometimes we're negotiating a brand with a processor and we're inside this agreement to make
Oh,
sure.
I got you. So you're sourcing for everybody. You're in the middle, really consulting with everybody who wants to make this thing.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha. So do the are you buying this from people? Most places are paying for their waste, right?
To be removed from the salon. That's correct.
Right. So is it a zero sum game for them? I mean, that would be good enough, right? To just eliminate that cost, or is it not good enough for them?
So the way that we built this is we knew we needed to create a financial mechanism for a salon or a business to be able to generate the revenue to offset the cost of the program.
Gotcha.
If you don't do it, again, in my view, it would not be sustainable. A salon would eventually say, you know what, don't like the program, it costs too much, can't do it.
Right.
What we did was we created something called an environmental stewardship fee about 16 years ago. And salons, when they launch the platform in their salon, they'll add this fee into their pricing. And salon guests will be able to know, when I go to this salon, I'm paying $2 more per transaction per visit to that salon. Call it $2, could be $3. The salon determines what that ESF needs to be, that fee needs to be. Green Circle needs to recuperate X amount to be able to run the business with the salon. Salons often charge slightly over that amount so that, because they know that this is time is money, they need to have someone committed to making sure that the waste is packaged.
Oh, sure. I mean, in their retail stores, space is money, period.
Space is money. And then when you think about the other things they can do in their salon, LED lighting, hot water on demand, these types of things, low flow, these will cost money. So this provides the funding mechanism to invest in those technologies. So it's not a zero sum. At the end of the day, they are investing in these other technologies that help make their business. It stabilizes pricing. It makes it, that keeps them more competitive in the face of increasing energy costs and so on and so forth. This just is a way to ultimately overall make their business more sustainable, financially included.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. So do you deal with anybody? Do you reach out to these or because I mean, a lot of this depends on the logistics. Well, all of it depends on the logistics, right? So do you go out and try and solicit, hey, anybody call us and we'll try and figure this out for you? Or are you growing, strategically based on your infrastructure?
So you're saying, for example, across North America with a salon, are we focused on growing in certain regions where we can?
I mean, how's your growth model? Is it strategic to those regions because of the infrastructure and the cost of logistics? Or is it like, hey, Mike, let's put this out to everybody on the planet, see who calls?
You could be in Alaska, you could be in Hawaii, you can be in anywhere in the US, in Canada. And if you have a zip code or a postal code, we can service you. So we work with a third-party logistics company to pick up all of the material from across the US and Canada and get it to one of 3 facilities where we can then process that material.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
Perfect.
that's how we manage that. We have set up satellite businesses through a licensing arrangement in Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. We're piloting in Poland. We're about to launch a pilot in Germany. So we're beginning to develop a footprint overseas. But yeah, our primary market and focus is North America.
Fantastic. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, greencirclesolutions.com, is that where people
Green
go?
Circle Salons. But yes.
Oh, I keep going to the wrong one, dude.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Because when COVID happened, we pivoted and we created a subco called Green Circle Solutions, so that when a salon or a hospital or a doctor or dentist office had PPE COVID boxes, those PPE boxes, they could ship them back to us and we manage that waste stream. That's all.
So there's 2 and they are both valid.
Yes.
Can you get to both ways, or can you get to neither either way?
Yeah, probably number 2. Yeah. Our focus is beauty, but we did open that when COVID happened. Yeah, because we needed to manage the PPE boxes, so we had to create a separate entity for that.
GreenCircleSalons.com.
That's it. Yes, sir.
Fantastic. People, you got to go there, or just look them up on
LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, we have our own Instagram. Your typical YouTube. I think your different channels. Facebook.
It's fantastic stuff. I'll be following your story, and I'm sure we'll be
Amazing,
in touch
Michael.
as we go forward. Thank you so much for coming on, everybody. This has been the Sustainiacs. Thanks for watching. Thanks for downloading, and check them out. GreenCircleSalons.com or Solutions. Go to either one, but GreenCircleSalons.com is the one that's exploding all over the place. Check it out. It's fantastic stuff. Thank you so much, Shane. Peace and love, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.